You see that couple next door, the ones with the luxury SUV gleaming in the driveway, the perfectly renovated kitchen you glimpsed through their window, the designer handbags, the annual trips to Bali. Their combined income, $180,000 a year. Their net worth, negative $43,000. Now, picture your old college friend who still drives a 2012 Honda Civic, still lives in that modest apartment, still brings lunch to work in Tupperware containers. Income? $65,000. Net worth? $127,000. What separates these two realities isn't luck, it isn't inheritance. It's understanding a mathematical truth that most people discover too late or never discover at all. The first $100,000 is a brick wall that 78% of people will never climb over. And today, I'm going to show you exactly why. Let me start with something Charlie Munger said before he passed away. The man who helped build Berkshire Hathaway into a $700 billion empire had this warning. Getting together $100,000 is a long struggle. Think about that for a second. A billionaire, someone who understood money better than almost anyone on the planet, said the first 100,000 is the struggle. Not the first million, not the first 10 million, the first 100,000. Why? Because until you reach that number, you are doing all the heavy lifting. Your money isn't working for you yet. It's just sitting there, barely breathing, while you're out there sweating, saving, sacrificing. But here's where it gets interesting. Once you cross that threshold, everything changes. That $100,000 becomes a worker. Then it becomes a factory. Then it becomes an army working 24/7 while you sleep. The problem? Most people quit before they see the magic happen. Let me hit you with some brutal math. Stay with me here. This is where most people's dreams go to die, but it's also where the truth lives. If you save $10,000 a year and invest it at a 7% average return, which is conservative for the stock market historically, it takes roughly 7.8 years to reach your first $100,000. During those nearly 8 years, about 78,000 of that 100 grand comes from you. Your labor, your sacrifice, your discipline. Only about $22,000 comes from investment returns. $22,000 in 8 years. That's $2,750 a year. That's $229 a month in free money. You know what that feels like psychologically? It feels like nothing is happening. It feels like you're running on a treadmill while everyone else is driving past you in their leased BMW. But here's the plot twist that changes everything. Once you have that first $100,000, the next 100,000, getting from 100K to 200K, takes only 5.1 years at that same savings rate and return. Wait, let me say that again, because this is a secret the wealthy understand and the broke ignore. The second 100,000 takes 35% less time than the first. Therefore, the money starts breeding faster than you can save it. The third 100,000, even faster. The fourth, faster still. This is compound interest, but it only works if you survive long enough to see it work. Most people tap out in year 3, year 4, year 6, right before the exponential curve kicks in. They look at their account, see $31,000 after 3 years of sacrifice, and think, this isn't worth it. But they're 3 feet from gold. So why do people quit? Why do most people never make it past this milestone? Let's talk about the trap that catches almost everyone: lifestyle inflation. You get a raise. Suddenly that 10-year-old car feels embarrassing. That apartment feels small. Those vacation plans feel too modest. You earned more, so you deserve more, right? Wrong. Here's a statistic that should terrify you. 48% of people earning 6-figure salaries live paycheck to paycheck. Read that again. Nearly half of people making over $100,000 a year, an income that puts them in the top 20% of earners, can't cover an unexpected $1,000 expense without going into debt. How? Because they're confusing standard of living with actual wealth. They're buying liabilities and calling them assets. That $60,000 SUV, it's worth $45,000 the moment you drive it off the lot. That's a 25% loss in 60 seconds. But it feels like wealth because it's shiny and new and makes the neighbors jealous. Meanwhile, $60,000 invested in an index fund at 7% becomes $118,000 in 10 years without you touching it, without you thinking about it, without you doing anything except not buying the SUV. The person with the fancy car feels rich. The person with the investment portfolio is actually becoming rich. But our brains are wired wrong for this game. Let me explain something about your brain that the financial industry doesn't want you to understand. You have this thing called the limbic system. It's the ancient part of your brain that kept your ancestors alive on the savannah. It's designed for instant gratification. See food? Eat it now because you might not find food tomorrow. See danger? Run now because hesitation means death. That worked great 10,000 years ago. But in modern finance, it's sabotaging you every single day. When you buy a $1,000 phone, your limbic system floods your brain with dopamine. Instant reward, immediate satisfaction. You can touch it, show it off, feel the pleasure right now. But when you invest $1,000 in the stock market where it might become $2,000 in 10 years, your brain gives you nothing. No dopamine hit, no immediate reward, just a number on a screen that might go down tomorrow. Therefore, we're biologically programmed to make the wrong financial decisions. The wealthy, they've learned to hack their own brains. They've learned to get their dopamine from watching their net worth grow instead of from buying things that lose value. But there's another psychological trap even more insidious: loss aversion. Studies show that the pain of losing $100 is psychologically about twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining $100. This is why so many people keep their money in savings accounts earning 0.5% interest while inflation runs at 3%. They're so terrified of a market crash, of seeing their $50,000 become $40,000 temporarily, that they guarantee themselves a slow, invisible loss to inflation instead. Let me put this in perspective. If you have $50,000 in a savings account earning 0.5% interest and inflation averages 3%, you're losing $1,250 in purchasing power every year. That's $10,400 over 8 years. But it's invisible. You still see $50,000 in your account. Your brain tells you you're being safe. Meanwhile, someone who invested that same $50,000 in the stock market, even with the crashes, the corrections, the heart attacks when they checked their portfolio, would have roughly $87,000 after 8 years at a 7% average return. One person feels safe and lost $10,000 in real purchasing power. The other person felt scared and gained $37,000. Fear keeps more people poor than greed ever will. But let's be honest, it's not just about psychology. There are real systemic barriers that make this climb brutally difficult for millions of people. The middle class is being hollowed out. Jobs that used to pay $60,000 a year with benefits and the pension are being replaced by $40,000 gig economy work with no benefits and no stability. Or they're being automated entirely. If you're not in the top 10% of earners, the engineers, the doctors, the lawyers, the tech workers, you're often stuck in a wage bracket that hasn't moved meaningfully in 20 years, while everything around you got more expensive. The cost of basics has exploded beyond general inflation. Housing in many cities takes up 40–50% of median income. Education costs have increased 180% since 2000. Healthcare is a financial disaster waiting to happen for anyone without excellent insurance. Therefore, for millions of people, there is no surplus left to invest after covering the essentials. This isn't a moral failing. This isn't laziness. This is math. If your rent is $2,000, your student loans are $600, your car payment is $400, your insurance is $300, your groceries are $500, your utilities are $200, your phone is $100, and your take-home pay after taxes on a $60,000 salary is about $3,750 a month, you have $650 left. One car repair, one medical bill, one emergency. And you're not investing that month, you're borrowing. And that brings us to the final trap: high interest debt. Compound interest is the most powerful force in wealth building, but it has an evil twin: compound debt destruction. The average credit card interest rate right now is over 20%. Let me show you what that means in real terms. If you have $10,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest and you're making minimum payments of $200 a month, it will take you 94 months to pay it off. Nearly 8 years, and you'll pay $8,700 in interest. So you'll pay $18,700 total to buy $10,000 worth of stuff you probably don't even own anymore. But here's where it gets worse. While you're trying to pay off that 22% interest debt, you're also trying to invest in the stock market at 7% returns. You're literally running uphill on a treadmill that's tilted at a 15% disadvantage. Therefore, mathematically, you cannot win. You will never reach $100,000 net worth while carrying high interest debt. It's not a matter of willpower, it's a matter of arithmetic. The credit card companies know this. The buy now, pay later companies know this. They're not offering you convenience. They're offering you a financial trap disguised as freedom. So let's bring this full circle. Let's go back to that couple with the luxury SUV and the friend with the Honda Civic. Same economy, same systemic barriers, same psychological wiring, but different choices. The couple with the SUV fell for every trap we've discussed. They inflated their lifestyle with every raise. They financed liabilities instead of buying assets. They confused looking rich with being rich. They're on the hedonic treadmill, running faster and faster and getting nowhere. The friend with the Civic understood something deeper, that the first $100,000 is pure discipline, pure delayed gratification, pure faith that the math will eventually work in your favor. They didn't buy the new car, therefore they invested the difference. They didn't upgrade their apartment, therefore they saved the savings. They didn't finance a lifestyle they couldn't afford. Therefore, they have a net worth that will change their life in 10 years. One couple is building a facade, the other couple is building a foundation. Here's what I need you to understand as we close this out. Reaching $100,000 net worth isn't about being smart. Half the people who reach it aren't geniuses. It's about being patient during the brutal years when nothing seems to be happening. It's about understanding that years 1 through 8 are you building the snowball by hand. But years 9 through 15, that's when the snowball starts rolling down the mountain on its own, picking up speed, getting bigger, until it becomes an unstoppable force. Most people never see the mountain. They quit in the valley. But you, after watching this, you know the secret. You know the math. You know the traps. The first $100,000 is the hardest because it reveals who you really are. It reveals whether you can delay gratification when everyone around you is indulging, whether you can stay boring and disciplined while everyone else is posting their highlight reel on Instagram. It's hard. Charlie Munger was right. It's a long struggle. But on the other side of that struggle is a life where money works for you instead of you working for money. And that's worth fighting for.